welcome to Midjourney Studio. We will be focusing on V8 today. It is March 26th, about 12 noon Central Time. It's getting hot here in Central Texas.
Hello.
Hello. Let's see. Try to get the...
Is my voice kind of muffled? I think I'm using the my tune or my earbuds for microphone.
Seems
Is there
okay to
not a lot
me.
of treble?
It seems fine, actually. Welcome, Boban.
Okay, clear and crisp. Because
So
when I
far, so
record
good.
video on my phone, it's always a
Yeah.
little. There's no treble, so and people seem to have trouble hearing me when I call them. The microphone on my actual phone is even worse.
I do see
Okay,
that.
thanks.
Yeah. I do see that you're not being picked up by the captions.
Oh,
Fascinating.
and
Different every time. Let's try that. Say something?
okay, yeah. Something doesn't
No?
seem to be. Nope.
Curiouser and curiouser. Welcome, Stu. Welcome, PHP. Unmuting you guys as you join. Welcome anyone out there on Twitch and Facebook and YouTube. We'll get started in just a few minutes. We'll be focusing a little bit on V8 today, trying to challenge the community to come up with some new tips and tricks for certain things. We'll see if between all of us we are creative enough to solve the problem. I have unmuted Westendorf, Stu, Reason, PHP, Johnny, and Bob Ann.
Ooh, cool.
And we'll get started in
Just
just a
call
few minutes.
PHP FIP. That's at least what I always thought of his name being FIP.
FIP is a good name.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody know what happened
course,
during the
Bob Ann.
office hours? I didn't listen to it.
Oh, here you go. I've got, boy, do I have something for you then. Here.
I refuse to use X. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No worries, FIP.
Bob Ann is wondering if being out of hours will
Yeah, I already answered.
affect.
I said
Oh,
no.
okay.
No, it's fine. You don't need any hours to participate today. Welcome,
Has
Irene.
anybody got fast hours from prompt battles yet? I still haven't. I know you have nothing to do with that, Clarinet, but
That's
curious
okay.
if anybody had received any.
Mine are lower than I thought they would be, but I figured that was just because it's a little more expensive.
So one of the things I wanted to go over today, I suppose I can I suppose I could go over the office hours summary just to make sure everyone has the same news.
Mhm.
And then I have a little project for us. Make sure we give everyone a chance to join. Welcome, Himbo. Welcome, Bad Cat. Unmute Bad Cat. I will unmute Himbo. Let's see. I will unmute Zonder. Welcome, Zonder. Hello, Willie Fern. We'll get started in just a second here. So the first thing I'll do is go over the office hours notes to make sure we're all on the same page. And the next thing I'll do is introduce a puzzle and see if we can solve it. I'm also in the other window troubleshooting the prompt helper custom GPT, which is producing some interesting error messages freshly today. You'll also notice there is no cartoon owl on your screen. That is another fresh out of the box error that caught me by surprise today. Nothing is the same from day to day in the Midjourney Event Studio. Okay, so what you see up on my screen share if you're watching is the community website. I will put the URL in the local chat for the event on Discord and on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, in case you want to go. As we accumulate, V8 information beyond there's docs.midjourney.com as a resource, and docs.midjourney.com is kind of like the product description. It describes a little bit, I wouldn't say an ideal state, but it it is more a description of what the product's supposed to do out of the box. It doesn't include really any tutorials or tips or tricks or how-tos. It just sort of describes the product. And so Midjourney has arranged this Notion site, which is good, dives much deeper into, why do things work the way they do, what methods, strategies, tips and tricks can you use, and so on. This is a community supported resource sponsored by Midjourney. If you ever want to get involved or contribute, you can talk to me, you can talk to Observe Visualize, and one of us will hook you up. One of the things we've added recently is the office hours notes. So on Thursdays, if we're lucky, the office hours notes from the prior day will be posted. These office hour notes are produced by a user named Nico. And he posts them to a thread here on Discord, and I'm just mirroring that thread over on the web page. What's nice about that is it means that the prompt helper can see it. So if you use the Clarinet prompt helper, I guess I could give you that URL too if you don't have it already. It should be able, that's the error that I'm working on. It should be able to access that information when its Notion API is functioning, which I'm not sure today that it is. One of the most exciting things announced is the new editor ecosystem, which, when is it coming? In 2 weeks, in 2 months? We're not entirely sure. But what's nice about it is more explicit camera controls is exciting. You can't do that via prompting. You can't say, we've done a lot of testing in V8 there, because the training doesn't contain the information. So although stuff like the words aerial view, for example, or top-down view, these things work because they are correlated in the training enough to change the perspective of the camera, but not because Midjourney has any idea what those terms mean or what you intend. So since it can't be accomplished through prompting without extremely expensive, exhaustive training, and even then it would be unreliable because diffusion, it looks like they are toying around with more explicit camera controls via the editor. Now, that's still a mystery to me. They haven't released it yet to the internal testing team, so we haven't played with it yet. But I will keep an eye on that and see what's going on. Improvements in painting are nice. In painting is a fancy word for basically being able to edit the picture in patches. So, nope, Midjourney does not really know what things mean. Nope. Himbo asked, does Midjourney know what things mean? In conversational mode, specifically, there is an LLM layer. I believe they last I checked, it was using Gemini. That does. But when you prompt outside of conversational mode, you're prompting directly to the diffusion model, and diffusion models are pure probabilistic correlation engines. They do not have any language understanding. So after V8 is all sorted out, we might start to see hints of that new editor. I was happy to see that they were responsive to this sort of fad of JSON prompting. You guys have heard me say before that using markup or JSON or whatever to structure prompts is really helpful to the human being, because it allows the human being to make sure that they cover the details that might be helpful to control the canvas. But that it has a lot of noise in it because, Midjourney doesn't actually understand markup. It's just, I don't know what it's doing. They're troublesome tokens. And people, however, have figured out, well, if I paste it in conversational mode, it will be reinterpreted for me as a ordinary text prompt, and then in that way I've almost like filled out a form to write a prompt, which would be really handy. So what I noticed in the yes, Pixel, you can still use Discord. What I noticed is that the notes for the office hours mentioned that they might actually add a layer that identifies someone's trying to JSON prompt, and because it doesn't work very well, they'll intentionally convert it into natural language. That might even happen if you don't use conversational mode, is the implication that I'm hearing, which is very cool. The JSON and markup type prompting is here to stay because LLMs are starting to support it. So it's nice to see that Midjourney is like, well, we're not going to be able to train people not to use JSON. So instead, we're going to embrace it and see if we can let that be as useful as people think it is. So that's a nice quality of life improvement. Pixel asks, can you use pizza coding? I don't know what pizza coding is. Do you guys know what pizza coding is?
Nope.
Nope. Hi, buttered toast.
Well, there's a programming language called Pizza, according to Wikipedia.
Aha. The Midjourney doesn't understand any language. It doesn't understand Markdown. It doesn't understand JSON. It doesn't understand English. It doesn't understand French. All it can do is look at these strings and tokenize them and correlate them to training data. And that'll tell it where to place pixels, where to place the pixels on the canvas. Right, exactly, Himbo. No, the JSON cult, I was just talking about that, Gally, just as you were coming in. No, Pixel. Are you guys just pulling my chain? Because I respect every question. It's easy. It's easy to doesn't understand anything. All it does is it knows strings. Very funny, Gally. It knows what a string is. A string is a series of alphanumeric characters. It finds a match in its training data for the alphanumeric character, and it looks up, okay, if you've given me this string, what pixel patterns are considered valid? And then it places. Oh, I thought you meant logo the language. I'm like, no, it still doesn't know. Yes, it will look at the string LOGO, and it will correlate. It will correlate the. It will go look at the pixel patterns that are valid when correspondent to the string logo. So that is a very iconic word. So it is likely to be quite effective with diffusion models. Very good, very good. So yeah, Gally, I was just saying, in the office hours notes, there appears this message that maybe because the JSON cult is not going away, and it shouldn't go away. Markup prompting is being accepted or intentionally accepted by most of the LLMs, the major LLMs, right? So, and Midjourney, as always, is sort of thrown in people take their prompting skills from those LLMs and take them to Midjourney, even though because not everyone can keep up with where the differences are. But apparently David said maybe they'll just turn the JSON style prompts into the caption prompts, into natural language prompts that that Midjourney understands. It's just markup pixel. It's not, it has no declarations, statements, expressions. Markup like HTML. A markup language is tags on either side of a piece of content, which creates which adds meaning to that content. Like what Reason just put in. Negative steering. Poor Midjourney. Tokens. But usually the token separator is a space. So that's why he says the practical limit is the number of words. I'm pausing to see if any other questions come through. And thanks to Gally for adding to my definition there. I was also pleased to see that he said out loud in public that image references are coming back. So if Collect were here, he would boo and hiss, but the rest of us can celebrate. Yes, Pixel, in the release of V8 Alpha, they were not supported. And they will continue not to be supported until the next release of 8 comes around. But if you're still using version 7, you're not affected by that. It's only for people who are exploring the V8 Alpha. I would also appreciated that the notes reflect public acknowledgement that V8 can feel a little bit hit or miss. I thought that was refreshing. It's honest. True story, Nocturne Cat. Himbo, it depends on whether there's spaces or not. Quotes are not token delineators, only spaces are. So, like that. Delineated by spaces. Generally, it's a bit of a black box, but we're fairly confident that the space is a token. Space is a strong token indicator. That said, if you write a 256 word prompt that consists of 256 words that are written without spaces, like this, like trying to get more words in, you can't outsmart the tokenizer. The tokenizer will likely understand that the end of the first token is written, the end of the second token is without, and the end of the third token is spaces, even though you've tried to cheat it by not putting spaces, because although it might tokenize the whole string, it still that doesn't come back. It's nonsense. So it doesn't come back strongly correlated, whereas the separated words do, and so they overpower or substantially influence the canvas, and the other ones don't. The nonsense doesn't. So they're not limiting the prompt based on literal word count. They're limiting the prompt based on character count. So you can't sort of game it with the space bar. I'm not sure why you would, but we're nerds here. We ask the silly questions. Pixel says, since it is AI, do we really need to type in these crazy prompts and maybe keep the prompt short and let Midjourney create it, like a beautiful tree on a hill? A beautiful tree, if you have an expectation of what the beautiful tree on a hill should look like, you need to put the expectation in the prompt. If you have no particular expectation of what a beautiful tree on a hill should look like, oops, this is not the right, then you can let Midjourney do it. If you would like to know what the tokens are, I can give you the tokenizer URL, and you're welcome to paste in whatever you want and see how it tokenizes. Let's see. That is... Well, apparently I don't have it in front of me. I'll have to Google it. One moment. Hebo is asking, if I do this with the text, and I do that with the text, I do the other thing with the text, how many tokens is that? And rather than answering that for him, I'm giving him the Novel AI tokenizer, which is the bit that chops your text into tokens. Tokens are the chunks that the model actually reads. Those chunks are not always whole words. They can be word pieces, punctuation, spaces, fragments. Token IDs and token boundaries depend on the tokenizer used by the specific model. We don't know what model. It's a black box for Midjourney. We're not actually sure what Midjourney is using. See if I can find. I think it's just novel AI net.tokenizer. Yeah, here it is. That's right. So you are welcome to paste prompts into that and see what you get. Now, is that Midjourney's tokenizer? We don't know. Pixel's original question was, do we need to type in long prompts, or can we keep the prompt short and let Midjourney create it? You may keep the prompt short and let Midjourney create it. If you want to affect how it looks, you can use style tools such as srefs, style references, mood boards, profiles, and so on. However, if you prompt that way and you don't like a beautiful tree on a hill, how it turns out, because you were thinking it should be a pine tree, remember that those expectations are what should go into the prompt. So rather than saying Midjourney sucks, it doesn't work, I should just put the word pine tree in the prompt and get it to work. So only you know the length, what length your prompt has to be. If you don't care what type of hill, what type of sky, what time of day, what lighting, what style, what kind of tree, then let Midjourney do it. If you do care, put it in the prompt. Gally says, interesting, just recently I came across a lengthy prompt without spaces and wondered what the heck they were doing. I didn't realize it was an attempt to game the token count. Yeah, it might have been. It might have been. The other thing that it could be doing is a lot of people are trying to blur or blend tokens together, hoping to break archetypes or create blends or so on. And sometimes, like if you say a puppy macaw with no space instead of a puppy space macaw, you might get a different result. So it's a fun thing to play with. Right, Nocturne Cat. One of the examples that I talk about is let's see if I can do it. Let's eat grandma. Let's eat grandma. Right? Yeah. Versus let's eat grandma. Let's eat grandma. I found out because this young lady kept showing up. I was like, what's going on? Turns out there's a band called Let's Eat Grandma. So you get this girl if you don't use a comma. So that's all. Punctuation matters because of how tokenization works. For sure. My favorite in V7 was a panda eats, shoots, and leaves. In V7, it's a panda with a gun. Panda eats, shoots, and leaves without the Oxford comma. Is him properly eating, shoots, and leaves. So tokenization. Now, an LLM is unlikely to get so confused. Actually, it might be equally likely to get confused, but for different reasons. LLMs also pay attention to commas, but not because because they have they've been trained to understand language, like it means something different to them. Bob Ann says, in your opinion, how different are the models in details and context? I'm not sure what you mean by context. By detail, I could definitely say V8 is so efficient that it can supply an incredible amount of detail compared to previous versions, which you can then, you know, increase using HD. Let's see if I can do crosshatch sketch of an apple. See if I can get that to come up in HD so you can see the difference. versus V7. I don't know why I'm bothering to use the same seed across versions. Doesn't make any sense, but so V8 is, let's see. It feels like prompts are moving more from content. What I want to content, detail the elements and subject and more. What, hold on. It feels like prompts are, hold on, let me get this guy. Okay. It feels like prompts are moving more from content. It feels like prompts are moving more from context. What I want to context, detail the elements and subject more. Oh, is Reason's mic on? You feel like you must tell more of the story than in V7, Boban? So I'll put these. Yes, that's an increase in adherence. There's more listening going on. I don't know what's comparable. This, I guess. If you want to bring these up locally on your own screens to examine the difference between the level of detail and the cross-hatching, you'll see that 7 blurs out. Whoops. I can't seem to get this much closer. And 8, you can zoom in quite a bit and stay crisp, has a lot more detail. Right now in the alpha version of V8, the more tokens you give it, the more it has to build an image with. Even if the tokens seem just a bit noisy, they contain data instead of none. So in the alpha anyway, slightly longer prompts, even if you just smash the keyboard and it's not real words, may result in higher or better aesthetic look. And that's just because token equal data, more data equal more to build image from. Now, of course, it's much, much preferable for you to use tokens that matter and not nonsense, but I'm just trying to establish that data is data. So I think that brings us to the end of our office hour notes review. I'll put the URL back in the local chat. In case anyone wanted to click again. Are there any other questions about the office hours announcements? If you do not have questions, do me the favor of typing NQ or no questions. Thanks, guys. That's really helpful. You could not get the audio for office hours. Aha. Yeah, there's been some problems. So the next thing I want to do is give you guys a puzzle. Who here is in the mood to solve a Midjourney puzzle? Any takers? look, as usual, fast time for the folks that figure this out. We're talking about emphasis and de-emphasis in V8, at least in V8 alpha. Where did I put it? Where do they don't know? Okay, puzzle. So check out different methods of emphasis. Now I'm going to give this to you in your local chat in case it's easier for you to zoom it and read it. But in this case, we've got a serene swamp landscape dominated by a very large low sun. And if you allow your eyes to look across the different methods that worked in 7, you might notice that by and large, there's just not a huge difference from image to image in 8. So what if you want a massive sun? If your answer is, say, massive sun looms over the swamp, that did not affect things over much. I mean, so all the things we've tried is lowering stylize, cowbell, which means repeating the phrase, choosing other phrases, sometimes redundantly, sometimes instead, and just using plain old natural language, which of course doesn't work. And I am not convinced that any of these were a huge win. The only one that seemed like maybe it did something quite different was cowbell. And I only say that because of of number 3 here, which stood out to me as being quite affected compared to the other 3s. But the other ones are quite similar. Getting the sun to fill up more of the sky. Now one of the answers is to actually say, and the sun fills up most of the sky, right? Maybe that would work. But I'm trying to find a method outside of describe what it looks like. In other words, can I lower stylize? Can I repeat the phrase? Can I use synonyms? Can I, or is it going to be on a prompt by prompt basis where I actually have to a swamp by swamp basis, prompt by prompt basis where I actually have to say, there's almost no sky visible or something like that. So let's see, a serene swamp, a large low sun. The sun occupies most of the sky. Let's see. Well, that didn't change it either. The massive sun occupies most of the sky. That's better. You can. I bet if I use that as a style reference, I will get more of them as massively large. I did not. There are no image references in version 8 at this time. So what we're doing right now is the per prompt solution. The per prompt solution is find out what tokens for the detail that you're trying to do, work that for that prompt for that detail. What I was hoping to do was devise a method that works across prompts. Like if I say, a serene swamp landscape is tiny beneath a massive low sun. I bet if I shrink in other words, if I keep, yeah, that helps. If I keep describing what I want and get closer and closer in the description of what I want, V8 will respond. But is that really the only advice we can give? What about de-emphasis? What if I want a serene swamp landscape with no trees? Now, we've heard in office hours, you can just say there are no trees and get no trees. And it's not that it does nothing. Look at the comparison between saying there are no trees and not saying it. There's definitely a change, right? We got one with no trees. And in the others, at least the trees are stripped bare, right? But it didn't go away altogether. Saying, an empty, flat, open, serene swamp, in other words, positively describing what we want, does clear the trees. So that's what we advise right now. So yeah, unnaturally, extremely, incredibly large. Yakko showing that does not create a 4 out of 4 win. That's a great example. Let's see, a huge oversized sun, and at the very bottom of the frame. That's what got me closest to also. And that's the answer. That's not a cross. The cross prompt. It's excellent, Noctilucid. The cross prompt advice there is get really literal about describing it. Enormous sun. So who knows? Maybe the answer in V8 for both emphasis and de-emphasis is get really literal, at least in alpha. Get really literal about what you're trying to see. Oh, I like Regine gave it more space. Changing AR is very, very cool in V8. If you need something to be square, I suggest cropping it to square, because giving it more room, either vertically or horizontally, often is the answer to sizing things appropriately. So let me ask this. Have you tried to emphasize or de-emphasize in V8 yet? Has anyone else tried to do something like this? Like imagine you want a little humanoid creature inspired by a salamander. Salamander. Let's see. I'll put my usual seed on it and do V8. Do you see how I said inspired by a salamander, but basically it's a salamander? So what if I want it to be only a little bit like a salamander? That's the de-emphasis challenge. Let me help you guys out here. I'm giving those of you who are trying a little bit of fast time while I'm sitting here. So that you are not okay. Yakko, woolly nocturne cat. So how would you make somebody only a little bit of a salamander? Now the cross the board answer in V8 is figure out what that looks like in your own head and describe that. If you cannot decide what you mean by only a little bit inspired by a salamander, how do you get Midjourney to do it? Anyone brainstorming with me out there? Yeah, that's my only answer too. A little humanoid creature inspired by a salamander, but you only want him to be a little bit like a salamander. The only V8 advice I know how to give is what Wooly said. Decide what parts or features you want. Like, oh, you mean that the skin is purple, or you mean that it has little I can't ever say the name of the thing. Fringes on its behind her ears, or you mean that it has a long thick tail, or you mean, and instead of saying inspired by a salamander, spell that out. Because there's no way to de-emphasize salamander. You have your microphone reason.
You're trying to think of the word axolotl.
Yes, thank you. Axolotl. An something with fringes on it. Axolotl. Yeah. So I haven't figured out any other. Now, that's great because I mean, what we had to do before we had this level of prompt adherence is we had to use weights, or we had to use dash dash no, or we had to use cowbell, or we had to this, or we had to that. And now it seems like all we have to do is imagine in our head what it looks like and articulate what that means, and we will get it. So if I say a little humanoid creature with, damp orange skin and a thick, I don't know, a chubby, moist tail standing in a puddle. Maybe I will get a salamander-like creature. Perfect, Fip. I did not. I didn't even say salamander, and it still gave me a salamander. Now it's giving me a Pokemon. With, I don't know, with a round head? Do I have to like shape its head away from salamander? Do I have to... Oh dear. So this is interesting. Hybrid creatures are all about that's nice, bad cat, except that's a chameleon. I don't know why it didn't bother to do a salamander. So what we're establishing again is the answer to V8. And the answer to V8 seems to be imagine it yourself and then find a way to articulate that in the prompt. Do you guys find that good news or bad news? Depends on the subject. Yeah, like I found myself, I didn't realize that I'd become dependent on Midjourney to create a creature for me. But like a little humanoid creature inspired by a salamander, like I'm over here like, well, what if I give it to version 5.2 and make that my reference image? Like, what if I use such an early version of Midjourney that it will absolutely do the blend for me, and then bring it back as a style reference or an OREF or something. Like that does not look like a salamander to me. That does look like a salamander inspired creature. Okay, great. So can I use that as my style reference then? Or as my OREF in version 7? Let's see. So I'm in version 7, so I should be able to give it an Omni reference now. And then maybe I can take the Omni reference into 8. Like there's this whole workflow it suggests. Oh, that looks great, Gally. Yeah, the OREF worked great to recreate this little guy. There's no way for me to convey him to 8, though, except, I guess, via the editor trick. No, I mean, there's no OREF in 8. If I want this exact character. But yeah, let's look at the scribe. Didn't mean to dismiss the idea. I just wanted to clarify what I meant. Excellent. All right, so let's run these all. Can I just run all prompts? Yes, there we go. Let's see what happens. Awesome. Oh my God, it just produced Yoda. Pretty much across the board. No, Wooly, it doesn't matter. You running all the prompts from describe will point to 7 until 8 is default. So I guess I'll just randomly try to do one in V8 now and see if I get Yoda again. No, I got Groot and Yoda. I suppose I should be reporting these. So the power of archetypes. Now I'm getting, look at all the characters I'm getting that are trademarked.
Yeah.
That's 3 now. Yoda, Groot, and Stitch.
Yeah. The overfitting is strong.
The overfitting is strong with this one for sure. And yeah, and this one, look, the bat ears look like the Gremlins, the 1980s Gremlins characters. So I have to report these overfitting issues.
Not doing that.
Let's see. I don't know whether I should put them in there or here. Gally, what do you think? To overfit means that it will produce a copy of something rather than something inspired by it. So like imagine you said Afghan girl and you got the picture of the Afghan girl from National Geographic instead of a girl from Afghanistan. Oh, that is overfit. Gally, how did none of us test this? None of us test overfitting? Oh dear. I'm just reporting this real quick. I mean, I'm sure they know at this point. How could they not know?
Mm.
I'm just throwing these in there. Bug report. It's amazing how many three IPs from one. 3 IP violations from one prompt.
I already mentioned this one. Putting it in there. Like I just asked for photo portrait by Herb Ritz and got Oprah. Yeah.
Baby alien. Dear.
Yeah, VA has no problems doing like IP or like images of famous people or, even when you're not even asking for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I ask for something in the style of Vermeer, put the girl with the pearl hair in it.
That's hilarious. It's Paddington
Gremlin.
Moglu. What's his name?
Yeah,
Mogwai.
Mogwai.
Paddington Mogwai.
Mogwai. saw something about the sequel, Gremlins 2, that apparently like the director or the whole basically movie was like taking the piss out of like the company that the the production company. Like he basically got permission like to include like he got total basically the production company couldn't tell him anything. Like they couldn't give him notes. He could do whatever he wanted essentially, and so that's why it's kind of a crazy movie. And it's all it, it seemed like he probably didn't really want to do the movie or something. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway. You basically just put whatever crazy thing you could possibly put into it.
Okay. So what we've learned so far today, I think, is a lot of the tips and tricks that we might have picked up from prior versions see it in your mind's eye and describe it in V8. So how do we get help with that? So one of the things you could do if you're looking for a trained GPT to help you is use the Clarinet prompt helper. You can give it a photo. See if I can randomly find a photo here. Look, we have all of our monsters from when we were fighting. Okay. And say, give me a valid Midjourney prompt describing this image. I'm going to say V8 prompt just to make it clear. And then in 20 minutes, it's done thinking. All right. Let's see what we get. It wants me to use SV6, but that's silly because there's no profile. Well, that is pretty darn exactly the same thing. So just so you can see what we accomplished using, it's very close. There we go. Looks like I might want to make some changes. Like it's not vintage enough and so on. So there's still more for me to do, but it certainly did get me started. I could say like a vintage, I don't know. Oh, that's much closer. What are those? Sunflowers? So yeah, I mean, my intervention is what's getting it closer. Oh, yeah. You know your flowers. Now we have that. It looks like I need to talk about the stems, maybe. Wonderful World of Stuff, his original has the stems. But that seems to be a good technique for those of you who are struggling with V8. Well, remember Pixel AI was like, do we really have to write the really long prompt? Well, only if you really have something specific in mind that you want. Well, he says, I've been trying a similar approach to prove to myself that I can recreate my V7 images in V8 with text only. For real. I have been, you know, doing this thing where I keep adding my V7 image as a style reference, hoping to help it out, hoping to get closer. Maybe that worked. V8 is just so much more powerful. It's like I feel like I've been given a well, I don't know how many of you are horseback riders, but if you've ever been given an extremely energetic, powerful horse and it just makes you tired, like you're incredibly thrilled to have all of this energy and partnership with you. But on the other hand, it takes a lot out of you to do it. Okay, my equestrian sisters here. So that's how V8 feels. Like I'm like, wow, look at this snorting, stomping, gorgeous beast. Oh, yes, so powerful. Will you ride it? Like just oh, give me the you know, the plodding, stubborn one. It's such a different feeling. And because you just touch your heels to its barrel and you're gonna take off. But on the other hand, you gotta stay seated. So I'm still trying to find my seat with V8. For sure. Yeah, I was gonna go ahead, Westendorf. Sorry.
The mental image is funny.
Oh yeah. Boinks, 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 boinks. Yeah. I gotta learn to post. Are you guys Western or English? I'm in Texas, so I learned Western. Aha, yeah. I learned I did Western for like 14 years before I was tried some English.
What's the diff?
It's just a whole. Most of it's vibes, but some of it is the equipment that you're using. The English saddle doesn't have a saddle horn because you're going to lean over it to do jumps. Western, you're generally doing rodeo style stuff, not leaping over fences. So you do have a saddle horn. You need to. That's theoretically to put your lasso on and. So whether you use stirrups or not, whether you posting is when you lift your body at a counterbalance to like if the horse goes down, you go up. So you're not bumping on the horse's back. in Western, you sink your pelvis and you ride like you almost like the hip thrust with the horse's movement. So you sit your saddle, you sit deep, right? Da, na, 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 na. But in English, you use your stirrups to hold yourself up over the saddle and counterpoint. It's called posting. How am I doing, you guys?
This is
Am
the
I
most
describing
Texas
this
thing
okay?
about you, by the way. The
Huh?
most Texas thing about you. This is the most Texas thing about you, I think. That
What?
like
The
that
horseback
you
riding?
that you can ride a horse. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, I can ride a horse. But yeah, so I feel like I need to post. Posting for in Western, if you need to post, you're lazy. Like there's a little bit of rivalry between Western and English because the Western, you're one with the horse. In English you are too, but it doesn't look like it because you're up, you're using the saddle to manage your relationship with the horse's body. Totally off topic. Also, I'm waiting for Willie or Gally to correct me or share a different perspective. Yeah, neither Western nor English is easy if you're going to do it well. But both could be easy if you're just going to be a passenger. If you're going to trail ride, I don't know if you're not even supposed to trail ride in English style, but you can. No one cares. The other thing is, Westendorf, in English, you have constant contact with the horse's mouth through the bit. Like your reins are taut all the time, and you use a softer bit. And in Western, it's a harder bit, but you have loose reins. And you're not in contact with the horse's mouth. You actually do a lot of sort of communicating with your thighs and knees and legs, with pressure and weight shifting and so on. And boy, you can make some Western people mad if you use English reins on a Western horse, because you got to have the right bit.
Yeah.
For that. Yeah, neck reining is when you sweep the rein, the pressure of the rein rests in a line across the horse's neck, and they move away from that pressure. That's Western. In English, you don't use neck reining. You use your pinky finger to pull the bit back very slightly in the direction you want the horse to go. So, you pull back a little bit on the rein on the left, and the horse will curve its neck toward that to relieve, like as if to relieve the pressure, and curve to the left and move leftward. Dressage, I don't know what presenting is, but I know dressage is a like English on steroids. I did like 2 dressage courses, like once, just not courses, classes, like individual classes, just to kind of get a feel for it. And I tell you what, the horse just did. Dressage and English definitely have a dotted line, but I would say dressage is its own thing. For sure. All right. Well, we have a few more minutes. Does anyone have any questions about V8? It seems we're all in agreement with our. It seems we all have a sort of a call wide handshake here on what we think of V8 so far, which is, you gotta put it in the prompt. Is there anyone who has tried imagining, like letting Midjourney V8 imagine for you, like poetic prompts. I noticed that with poetic prompts, I'm getting. Oh, tell me more, Nocturne Cat. Are you unmuted? I don't know if I have or not, but I'm going to do it again. Bob Ann, tell me about poetic prompts.
Okay, well, that's what I like to do most of all, where it's really very vague, very open-ended. I just tried a lot of variations on a peaceful atmosphere. That phrase, using some of my mood boards, using my P, using no P, just looking at the similarities and difference. It's always a landscape, and some of them are more surreal and painterly than others, depending on the mood board. And then I also, what did I was trying to see whether Midjourney could, I'm going to type these out, could tell the difference between two different very well-known rows of type.
Hi, Regent. Welcome to Midjourney Studio.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try it.
Yeah, and there wasn't a huge difference, is what I noticed. That there wasn't anything I could really attribute to, oh, the Midjourney knows the difference between a typewriter keyboard and a typesetting machine, and is giving me images that reflect that. I just got sort of generic romanticized landscapes, or
You got the system defaults.
Yeah, I got system default, basically.
System defaults. Yeah, these
so
are definitely system
that
defaults.
that one didn't work, but the peaceful atmosphere definitely gave me, again, it gave me landscapes. I was just trying to make a racehorse with a white mark on his head that looks like V8, but I couldn't get any that looked like natural horsehair. I got some that looked like the horse had been spray painted, which was not what I was going for.
Well, check this out. 5.2, 6.1, 7, and 8. Okay. All right. So what I did is electric wind chimes. And what I want to establish is if I give V8 electric wind chimes, at least one of them is just some freaking wind chimes. Right? I mean, actually all of them are just, this one's a little bit imaginative, I guess. But it's just not, this is a wind chime with a light bulb. But if I give other models electric wind chimes, the older the model, the more imaginative it gets. This is 5.2. All kinds of crazy things happening. Look at that. 5.2 electric wind chimes.
I found a similar thing happening with the new Niji, where it's much more literal, and I have to really up the chaos.
Well,
compared to other models.
Exactly. So let me show you a trick. In V8, if you are getting really boring results, I found this amazing, but you can actually say imaginative, creative, chaotic, intriguing. I don't know. You don't have to put all of them, but these words suddenly matter. Okay, maybe I did too many. Like, this one has some sort of strange disco ball in the center. Well, maybe it matters less than I think. In my other, maybe it was the seed, but it was super helpful. Excuse me, I've got the hiccups. Oh my goodness. I was able to provoke more imagination by using those words. This is not working. You should see what it was. This was this was in during the testing I did this. But no, this is still just wind chimes.
Yeah.
If I went to our testing environment and I'm not allowed to show you prior, this is why we're not allowed to show you the early outputs of V8, because it matured so much that I can't actually establish something that was true back in the day, like 2 months ago. Heck, because I was going to get all excited to show you that using those words actually helped. Like unusual, amazing.
Yeah, I'm trying some electric wind chimes, and the only thing that seems to move it away from actual wind chimes with some lights and wires in them is upping the chaos.
Yeah. Even my Chaos 100, I got that. Heck. Nice, it glitched out.
Lower stylize?
Okay, let's try that. That's a great idea. That's as if I'm taking my own advice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Westendorf. But that's fantastic, because in previous versions, it really wouldn't matter if you said unusual, amazing, creative, intriguing, mysterious. Those were all dynamic. These are all words that, these are all words that didn't really play over much. But in V8, I'm happy to report that some of these tokens are coming back. Okay, dynamic is not really one of them necessarily, but that's cool. So it's not impossible to get V8 to do some imagination. I think Nocturne Cat nailed it with a little bit of chaos. Did they put weird in yet? I think they did.
I think you can do weird.
I think you can do weird. I think you can do chaos. I think you can lower stylize. I'm going to use the word electric more than once. I'm going to cowbell it. I'm just curious. Well, that's some random stuff right there. How about if I just take weird out? This is the coherency stuff David keeps saying. There's a kind of a coherency issue. Oh, look at that. Winner. What with the atom with the electrons spinning around it in the middle of the... That's cool. I love the horse too, Reason. I just love horses in general. Field puppies.
I have to say the V8 logo has been overfit. Whenever I see V8, sometimes it's in that font.
Oh, the
juice.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah. Does anyone here actually like to drink that tomato?
Ugh.
Not a big fan.
What actual V8, the drink?
Yeah.
Spicy V8 is good.
Spicy V8. I have had spicy V8 and I don't disagree. But I don't like I don't know why not, but I don't like the flat kind. Bob Ann's pointing out V8 seems to prep better for video. I would presume this is because the more details video has to manipulate, the stronger it can perform. Stu says it feels a bit like the effort of input to the satisfaction buzz out what you get out of it is down quite a bit. Oh, I see. The relationship of effort to input to satisfaction buzz of output is down.
Yeah.
Writing
It's
long prompts for a long time is tedious for me. Yeah, well, this is why I trained the GPT for you.
yeah, I just think I just haven't got to grips with it yet, and I think it'll change for me as more things are added into it.
Oh, absolutely.
just-
And 8.1 will be a whole new world because they're changing the training, they're changing the level of imagination. The community constantly asks for adherence, and I'm one of the ringleaders of the group that says we want adherence, because once you have adherence, you can have anything you want with a little bit of effort. And
Yeah.
the pushback is no one wants to do that effort. They'd rather have stuff that they don't really want, and find a way to like it than the more is of more value than high adherence that requires so much effort. So,
Yeah, I think it's just because I think I was probably quite a niche user, really. It's like I'm not trying to get really specific things out of it. I'm more trying to get looks out of it. But to have that adherence is going to be good, obviously. I think what it is, I was waiting for V8, but I wasn't sure what it is I wanted from it, and I was quite happy with, really happy with what's happening, what I was making, and now it's like, I don't know what to do with it, really. I think that's more the case. I'm not too sure where to go with it. Rather than I don't like it, it's I'm not too sure what I should what's going to work for me with it, rather than
yeah, of course. I mean, that's sort of the onboarding experience, it's just like, well, what am I going to do with this? And, for me, I have to wait for a project to come along. Like, just left to my own devices, I'm just like, I don't know. But then I have to make some images for some slides, or I have to for a class, or my mom is like, hey, can you make a greeting card for and then as soon as I have those objectives and I'm using V8 to do a thing, then I start coming up with it, encountering, okay, do I really like it? Is this hard? Is that hard? And so on. But when I'm just playing around, it's hard on me too to figure out.
Yeah, the thing I'm really enjoying is the text.
Isn't it fun?
So, for instance, for sort of music visuals for gigs.
No. Sorry,
it's
not
really good.
Excuse me. I was not muted.
Get in tight. Text is pretty great VA. Sorry, Stu, I yelled at the cat in the middle of what you were saying.
That's okay. So something that would have taken me like loads of time to do. So something I quite like doing for music visuals is having like a frame of a word and then the word changing. So I would have had to make those individually, and it would have taken me ages. It's really hard to explain. So say 24 frames, say a second of video, each frame is a different word, or it's the same word, but with, different styling. And I can do that so quickly with V8, which is absolutely brilliant,
Excellent. So I'm going to show an example of what you mean. So you mean like, let's see. The word hello, made of, and I can just do leaves or flowers or skulls. Let's see if that does it.
Yeah, and then so I'd put those, I'd download all those, drop them into video editing software, and then it's just you can make a really quick video of all those, and then it loops, and your brain does something to your brain watching it, particularly on a massive screen, you know.
Yeah.
Or on the side of a building. It's great. So that, you know, that's really good for me. Oh yeah, the text thing's brilliant. Really,
The
I
text
think
thing is so brilliant. I have to admit that the most amount of time I've spent now with V8 making things that I use is text.
Yeah, definitely.
I have tried to make incredibly complicated infographics, but it is not possible. But still, being able to get, you know, 10 or 12 or 15 words instead of one is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, don't forget about tomorrow's Chillustrations and tomorrow's Victor and Arlen character workshop. Is there anyone in here who has not been to the frickin' character workshop? It's so good. Nocturne Cat, it looks great. Well, I hope you guys will attend some of those. And I am sending out some notes and stuff, or rather I'll post some notes to the Notion site about V8 based on some of our conversations and events, like some of the things that we've come up with while we're talking. So let's make sure to keep talking so that information can be circulated and we can teach folks. If you have an epiphany or make a discovery, you are invited into my DMs to share. Other than that, though, if there are no other questions, I think we are adjourned. This was Midjourney's V8 Studio. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You too. See you soon.